Hi, this is Z, and today I kind of wanted to talk about how people are saying they're seeing a lot of alien ships and things of that nature, and some of what they're seeing are drones. And I haven't really looked deep into it, but I wanted to talk about my experiences with beings from other planets. And so when I was younger, I would say it was over 20 years ago, because I have my children are adults. I have two adult children, and they were little at the time. My son was preschool age, and my daughter was, I don't even think she was one. And at this time, I lived in Chicago. I'm from Chicago, and I lived in Chicago. And we lived in a building on the north side, and we lived on the seventh floor. And we had a nice view of the lake because we were near Lake Michigan. And we had a nice view, and we could see to downtown. It wasn't even an expensive apartment or anything like that, but it had a nice view, and I loved to be able to look out over the lake. But anyhow, there was a day I was actually talking on the phone with three-way with two of my sisters, and my children were just kind of playing. I was in the living room with them, and they were playing with toys. And it was a very cloudy day. The clouds were very gray and really fluffy and thick, and they were low. They were low-hanging clouds. And I just so happened to look up and see a ship with, the typical saucer shaped ship, and it had lights going all around it. And it was only there for like a second, and it just flew up into the clouds, and I didn't see it again. I was continuing to look for it, but I didn't see it. It felt like almost as if they wanted me to know that they were there. And so at this time, that was just, I had always believed that there were beings from other planets. So it didn't frighten me, it just kind of caught me off guard. And I was looking for news to hear, if anybody else in the city. I had been looking on the news or listening to the radio to see if I would hear about it, because sometimes, they'll put stuff like that if there's other witnesses. But I never heard anything about that particular ship. But however, I did see I saw some triangular ships a few years later. And this was about 3.5 years later. By this time, I was still in Chicago, but I lived on the south side of Chicago. And I was standing on the bus. I was going to work, and I had my children with me. I was standing on the bus stop, and I remember there being a man on the bus stop with us, and we saw triangular ships. Now, they were kind of camouflaged, so you could only see the lights on the corners, and there was two of them. They blended in with the sky, so they were blue with white clouds. It was like wispy clouds, like they weren't like real thick or anything. And they were traveling slowly over. Now, this was in maybe like September or October. This was the year that there was the Millions More movement. because I went to the Millions More movement that year, and now I've not joined the Nation of Islam, but I've always had an interest in the Nation of Islam, and I recall them on several occasions, people that were in the nation or just listening to Minister Farrakhan speak. I remember hearing them talk about the motherships and the ships that are connected to people that are in the nation or the leaders of the Nation of Islam. So I understand some people say that's not real Islam, but I'm not here to judge what religion people follow or how they commune with God. I really just like to listen to the message that's being spoken. I feel like that's what's most important. I don't understand people fighting and among religion, because you have good and bad of every religion. You're going to have some bad seeds, and you're going to have some really excellent good seeds. So I don't think it matters. It's really about the person. But anyhow, let me get back to the subject. So I remember even that year being spoken about those ships that there's the beings in the ships that I guess they kind of oversee certain people that are speakers in the Nation of Islam. And at the time, I didn't judge. There was no I'm not really a person that really judges people and say, oh, people are crazy and things like that. I don't even feel that way about them or anyone that says something of that nature. And the reason why I don't judge and I don't say anything negative about that is because I've had dreams myself about beings that are on these ships. Now, the first dream I had, I cannot even tell you when this was. It was very long ago. I know that I was an adult. But this was probably sometime in between me seeing the first ship and the second sighting of the triangular ships. And the reason why I believe I did see those triangular ships is it probably could have been in connection with the Nation of Islam, with Minister Farrakhan, because it was around that time, right before the Millions More movement, that I had seen them, and they were actually speaking of these ships. Now, those ships I did hear about on the radio. I don't remember what station. It was in Chicago. And there were other people that did see those ships. And the man that was on the bus stop with me and my children saw them also. So I know I'm not delusional. Someone else and my children saw them. But anyhow, the dream that I saw that kind of really made me come to understand that there are other beings. The dream that I had in between the two sightings was of me going on a ship. Now, in the dream, I had my children with me. And I was walking through a field, an open field, towards some trees. And me and my children went into the ship. And when I went on the ship, there was a black woman that greeted me. She was there when I went on. She was dressed in long garments, and she covered her hair. Her hair had a scarf. She had a head covering on. And she had on long garments. She was dressed very modestly. And I was welcomed onto the ship. And when I got on there, I was really excited and I was really surprised at what I saw. I went on the ship and I saw that the ship was like a city. And there were children on there. The children were at school. They had schools where they were teaching the children. And it was a community. The people lived and they worked on the ship. Now, I don't remember everything, but I remember that, that I was amazed. Um, and this wasn't something that I was thinking about. And I really hadn't had any conversation with anyone about anything like this, because in my mind, what I have always seen was, monster aliens or aliens that look, not like us. Little green man, just always something of what they show you in a movie. And so this was not something that was in my mind. But when I went on the ship, it was very warm and welcoming. And I was aware that I was on a ship. And that that they were on the earth, but they were traveling to the earth. Now, I don't know if these are like interdimensional people, or these are people from a nearby planet, or what. I just knew that I was on this ship, and these people who look like brown people here, they look like so-called African American people. And I was just amazed. I was amazed, and I held that dream, that dream and that feeling close to me all these years. Now, I've had another dream since, but this was years later. And I began to think that these were not dreams. I did go to sleep, but I began to feel like this is astral travel, me traveling when I'm going to sleep. And so another dream I had years later, I was on another ship, or maybe the same ship. I don't know, because I was just all of a sudden inside the ship, and I was sitting on like a bench or something. And the inside of the ship was like metallic. It was very metallic, but it was warm. And I was sitting on a bench that was against the wall like this, and there was a man sitting, an older black man sitting next to me, but he had dozed off. He was sitting there, but he was like comfortable, and he was asleep. And then to my right, maybe about 8 or 10 feet away, were a group of black women, and they were sitting at a table, and they were talking, and I could tell that the people were taller, and I'm tall myself. I'm about 5'8.5", so I'm kind of tall myself, and these people were taller than me, and they were dressed very modestly. They had head coverings or scarves on, and they were sitting at the table. They were drinking, and then I remember they were not drinking alcoholic drinks, but they were like, like they were at a restaurant or something. They were drinking and eating a meal. I want to make that clear. They weren't drinking alcohol, because I don't want to give that impression. But there were some stairs, like a spiral metallic staircase that led up to the second level. And I remember just sitting there, and I was, looking at what I was looking at, and I realized that I was on a ship again. And It was very calm and peaceful. Um, it seemed like they were aware that I was there, but maybe didn't interact with me because I didn't interact with them. I just kind of sat there and just looked at what was going on. And both of these dreams, um, I was under spiritual warfare, but it wasn't as bad as it wasn't the worst times. So I was still able to um, recall this, whereas other times it was very difficult to recall what I see when I go to sleep. Because I've had a lot of people, doing a lot of spell work on my, especially like my crown and my third eye chakra. They would really work on that, my chakras, so I would forget what I saw when I wake up. But so that was the second time. And then I saw more recently, within, I say, the past 5 years. This time I was not on a ship in the dream. I was standing on top of a building, and it was outside, and I was on the earth, and I was looking up into the sky, and I saw a ship with brown people, but these were all men, and it was a small ship. And the feeling I was getting was that this was the earth, and this was something from the past. And they were 4 men in there, and they were darker skinned, and they had very fluffy curls. Their hair was short, but it wasn't like 4C afro hair. They were like large curls, but they were like short in an afro style, but just not the same texture. Their curls were larger and fluffy, but these were dark skinned men, and they were flying this ship. So it was almost like a glimpse into the past, where these people, or the people, had a technology in the past that was more advanced than we have now. And they were flying on the earth. So instead of cars on the street, the people of the past were in ships, like small ships that would be like a car, like 4 people would fit in a 4-door sedan. This was a ship with 4 people in it, and they could fly. Now, I've seen in the past where they would have like a zeppelin, or a blimp or something. I don't know the name that they call them, but these airships in the past, I've seen like videos of them or pictures of them in the past, but those are much larger, that carry a lot of people. But in my dream, this was a small, compact ship where people could fly. You would own it like you would own a car, I guess. And they passed by me, and I was looking up, and I was amazed, and I was like, oh, they have this, they're in this ship. I was amazed to be able to see something like that. And that's when I kind of realized sometimes some of us may actually get glimpses into the past, or maybe glimpses into the future. But I believe this was definitely of the past. This was not of the future. So I believe that as time went on, I believe that a lot of the ships that people really are actually seeing, that are real ships, are people that look like so-called African American people. And maybe they were maybe those are people that were here on the earth in the past. And I believe that there were times where the earth went through a destructive periods. Maybe there were people that left the earth during this time, or maybe these are beings that come from somewhere else. I remember reading a book, and I don't have the book with me at the moment, but I'm gonna try to remember to show it to you. But it was a black woman wrote a book about her same experiences of when she would go to sleep. She would go to Mars and she would see the people of Mars. And the people of Mars were black people. These were black people. I believe she did mention that there were people that looked like Middle Eastern people there too, but majority of the people she saw on Mars were black people. And I know the Nation of Islam. I've heard Elijah Muhammad in some of the, his speeches from the past speak about the people of Mars, saying that the people on Mars were black people. Now I know they tell us Mars was destroyed and things like that, but a lot of times you really can't believe everything that they put out there, because a lot of stuff is fabricated to hide who we truly are in our history. And I do want to get more in depth about history, the past, our past, because I believe that a lot of what we go through here is simply because of who we were in the past and our potential to go back into that, to rise back up to that status again. So a lot of what goes on is to kind of keep us asleep and in the darkness so that we won't return to how we were in the past. And I do want to, talk about that again, because I think those dreams, if you have dreams like that, don't dismiss them. They're very important. They connect us to who we truly are, and they connect us to our true history. We have to really kind of get ourselves in a place where we're open-minded and we don't block everything out and dismiss everything that comes to us in the dream state, because a lot of that is communication from God and communication from our ancestors of the past that are showing us something. So we have to pay attention to those things and not dismiss them as just simply dreams. I do understand that sometimes we dream about things that we think or that we see throughout our days, but sometimes this is something, and the fact that I've had multiple dreams tells me this is not just something that, came up in a movie or I thought about. And I know I didn't think about it. I know at that time I didn't see any movies of aliens looking like African American people. So I just wanted to speak on that real quick, and how that what people might be seeing out there might actually be beings that are us, might be the same people, and so that we shouldn't be fearful. A lot of stuff is just put out there to make us fearful, because they want to keep their narrative going, keep the facade going, keep you in a state of sleep or under their spells. And I'll get into that again at another period. But I just want to speak about that. If you have those type of dreams, write them down, record them, and try to remember, write down as many details as you can. And those dreams are important. What you see when you go to sleep are important, especially things like that. We have been lied to about our history and who we are, and we've been made to look like we're the least knowledgeable people of the planet, when it's actually the opposite. We had a time where we were very advanced, very highly spiritual people, very intelligent. They have dumbed us down, and we've allowed ourselves to be dumbed down. But this is with people going through judgment. It's not on just on an individual, but a much larger scale. And the forces that be, those that rule over us, are in a desperate time right now. So they're just as desperate as the individual karmic people in your life. They're getting very desperate because they're attempting to hold on to what they've created, which is essentially a facade, a lot of lies and deception, a lot of spell work cast over the masses. So they're getting desperate to keep us in this sleep. But it's too many of us that are waking up, and then we have to try to get the message out there for those others that want to wake up. And so eventually we're going to know and see and find out the truth. But this is not something to be fearful of if we see this in our sleep, because these are our people. For some of us, not everybody, but some of us, these are our people. And we may just have a because we do have a connection to them. We may be going to them naturally when we go to sleep, because we're connected to them. But when you do see some ships in the sky, they're trying to make us afraid, but we shouldn't be afraid. No one should be afraid, because they're not here to harm us, at least not those who, are of good and of God. They're not here to harm us. So if you do have any dreams of that nature, write them down, record them and keep them. Meditate or pray on it for answers and clarity. So I'm going to leave you there with that. Hopefully that helps someone. And it's not easy to talk about these things, because a lot of times people will think you're nuts. I know that in my family, I'm the only one, that have had these experiences. And so people will, they'll have their feelings about it. And so sometimes you may have to keep that to yourself. But if you do have those experiences, no, you're not crazy. This happens to a lot of people. And I'm not talking about an alien abduction. I'm talking about you going into an atmosphere where people recognize you and you're connected to these people. So if you do have these dreams like this or these experiences, record them and, pray for understanding and clarity. All right, I'm going to leave you with this, and I hope this helps someone. And please like, share, subscribe, and I will see you again soon. Bye.